Okay, for these expand and rewrite as single log problems, so we want to get basically this to look like this one down here. So to do this, we know that so we see that we have, first off, I'd like to see how many variables or factors we're going to have to deal with. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 factors. So each factor is going to make a log on its own. So we can do log base 3. So we're technically going to have 4, so we can just write out all 4 if we want. Log base 3, log base 3, log base 3. Okay. Now we see that we have multiplication on top, and then with 2 of the factors, and then 2 factors are being divided. So we're going to make these are going to add. I don't know how much room I'm going to have, so I'm going to leave it on top. These add. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Those 2 add, and these subtract because they're going to be 2 variables underneath. Okay, so first we need to see if we're going to have anything out front here. So that's going to be our exponent in something like this. So we see that a is under the radical with a 4, so it's going to be, that'd be the same thing as a to the 1/4 power, right? So with these, we bring our exponents out front. So if it looks like this, we then bring this out front. So it'll look like 1/4 log base 3a. And we know we're multiplying, so it's going to be adding to the next one. Okay, now we have the variable b. So with b, it's still under the radical, but it's also to the 3rd power. So instead of having a 1/4 exponent like the a, it's going to be to the 3/4. So it'll be, and once again we bring it right out front, so it'll be 3/4, and then same base, log base 3, but now we have the b, and that's that whole factor right there, because we have the 3/4 out front for the cubes and then under the radical, and we have our base log base 3. Then we divide. We see the divide sign right here, which with our log rules we know is subtraction. So then we have, for our next variable, we simply just have a 5. There's no exponent, there's no radical or anything. So that's all it's going to be, is log base 3, 5. And we keep this log base 3 with every factor. Now we're left with our last variable, which is x cubed. We know it's still under the division, so it's going to be minus again. And we have just cubed, no radical or anything. So we know that the 3 is going to come out front because it's an exponent. So we put the 3 back out front, and we do log base 3 x. Now that is that completely expanded. That'll be your answer. Now for this one, we're going to work in the opposite order. So we ended with a long one like this, and now we have to contract it into a single log. So we're going to look at each one again, but see, we know log base 4 comes in all of them. So we know it's going to be log base 4, and then we're going to have the rest of it in parentheses because it's going to be a single log. So first thing we look at, we see that both of these first 2 factors are fractions above 7. So now there's going to have to be a root, a 7th root. And we also see that it's an addition sign, so they're multiplied. So we don't have to worry about one being bottom or top. We know both are going to be under the same radical. So we put this here, and this 7. Now we look and we see what is our factor we're dealing with here. So we have a 5. So we're going to put that 5 under this radical, but we can't forget about it's not 1/7, it's 3/7. So we know that it's going to be 5 cubed under the radical, because that'll make it 5 to the 3/7 power, which goes out front, like we did with this one. Okay, so we have this whole one. This one's done. It's all done. So we move on to the next one. We have 5/7 log base 4 x. So we already have this 7 out of the way with the radical. So now we just do x, and we see it's to the 5th power. So we put the 5 up here because it's 5/7 which would be the same as this. If it were no radical, it'd be x to the 5/7, which we bring out front. That's why it's out front here. And then next, so that's that variable. So we're done with that. And that's our only addition. So that's going to be our only multiplication because we have a subtraction next. So we know that this last factor is going to come underneath here. So we see there's a 2 out front, and our z is our variable. So we know that the z is going to come under here, and we know that it's going to be squared because our 2 is out front, which is the exponent. So we bring that out. Now we have that, and that's our final answer. It's our final answer until we expand the 5. So we know now we can just rewrite log base 4 parentheses. We know the 7's here. So we know 5 to the 3rd power. 5 times 5 is 5 times 5 is 125. And that's the only one we can expand so far. So we just do x to the 5th, and we fill in the rest, z squared. That's our final answer.